you check the children? Show a little match sometimes.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Robert Duell.
Back here with another patron-requested video. This is the poll request from last month. No, this month.
What?
That is
No
actually
way!
March's. As we record this, it is still March. This is March's patron poll request. That is how current we are on all of our requests. You guys are going to see them on the channel throughout the end of March and April as we catch up on dozens and dozens of patron requests, but we are currently recording this in March. Don't know when you guys will actually see it, but we are here to talk about Night of the Creeps. And this is a movie that has become infamous in the horror genre, and yet it's also one of those movies that I had never seen before this particular request. I first became aware of it, years ago, I'm sure, when I saw the cover at Hollywood Video Update, and Blockbuster Video. However, I never bothered to pick it up because the cover art was never that interesting to me.
It just kind of looked almost cheesy.
Yeah, I
knockoff-ish.
can't remember which version of the poster it is, because there's like this version, and then there's this version, and then there's also this version, but then there's also this version. And so I don't remember
So many
which
versions.
I don't remember which version was actually the cover art of the VHS. Maybe it was this. But whatever it was, it didn't actually attract my attention enough to watch the movie. Now, it popped up most recently in my viewing of In Search of Darkness. The first iteration, now there's a part 2 that is circulating currently that we will get our hands on once it gets to Shudder. But the first version, this is a documentary, a 4-hour documentary on great movies from the 80s. And Night of the Creeps was one of the ones they focused on. And everything they showed, I was like, I have never seen this, and this looks awesome. And so we watched it, and I gotta say, it was awesome. I'm so glad I finally got around to watching this. The practical effects were like abounding. Like there was a lot of them, and they were all done really well, especially considering the time.
And they still hold up.
Yeah, most of them hold up. Some of them,
most of
they
them
look like, obviously, people can't melt like that. Yeah. But the fact that they tried to do it practically and stuff like that, yeah. But the fact that they even tried to do it practically is more than commendable. So my overall thoughts were, this is another example, like My Bloody Valentine, the original, that was requested by a patron, or by our Patreon group as a whole in this case, that if I had seen when I was a kid, it absolutely would have been in my regular rotation, and I would have been watching it as regularly as Freddy, or the Jasons, or the Michaels, or the Chuckies, the movies like that. I definitely think I would have, because I enjoyed it that much. What about you?
Interesting. Okay. No, I definitely like this movie a lot. I watched this. I think I first came across this maybe 9 or 10 or whatever, and it was around when I was introduced to Savini's remake of Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
And everything, but also
so it was a night of
in a sense.
You watched Night of the Living Dead, and then Night of the Creeps came on.
No, it was sometime afterwards and everything. I had watched Night of the Creeps and everything, but it was around about the same time.
Okay,
I'd watched each other, and each one of them and everything, and been introduced to them. But no, especially because of the similarities with the zombies aspect and whatnot. But no, like we were just saying, even too, like this movie still holds up really well. And for the goofy premise and everything that it is, and obviously being from Fred Decker, he was Monster Squad.
Monster Squad.
Yeah, it's Monster Squad. Which this movie actually takes a lot of those kind of characteristics. Like I can't remember if Monster Squad came after this or before.
I don't know. My phone is recording. Otherwise, I would check.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to pull that up right now. We'll figure it out later. But either way, either one. You look at either one of these movies, they both have very same characteristics. Where between your goofy kind of nerdy characters, your monsters, and basically the overall what's the word I'm looking for? Mishap, I guess. Shitty word to use right now. I don't know. I'm losing it. But no, other than that, this movie's it's fun. It's kind of gross at times. You got heads splitting open.
Lots.
Lots and lots, yeah. But the slugs, I think, was the one thing that still always stuck with me from a kid. It's like, no, just keep your damn mouth closed.
Yeah.
It's like, keep your goddamn mouth closed.
There were so many of them, too.
Yeah, but the one thing is, like, the dog and the cat scene. The
cat scene caught me off guard.
Those have always been the ones that have always stuck in my mind since originally watching this.
Those were the most disturbing. The cat one, though, definitely caught me off guard. I was not expecting that, and I didn't realize that it was a dead cat that
I
was
kind of
come
forgot
home.
about it, honestly, because like I said, it's been a while since I've gone back
That
and
was a
watched this,
trip,
which
dude.
It was kind of nice to see it on the Patreon list. It's like, oh, cool, okay, go back and rewatch it and
got
shit.
to it right away,
And
too.
honestly, I figured he had already watched this
Never
ago.
Never had. No, so let's talk about the story, okay? So the story is about a small town. It starts off in 1959, where it's, it's like a black and white movie where it's kids going up to the point. Yeah, it's Pleasantville, right. It's a bunch of kids going up to the point, overlooking the valley and making out in their cars, when all of a sudden a meteor or something goes soaring overhead from space and crash lands nearby. And so one of the couples goes to investigate, and when they do, like, one guy gets out of the car to go investigate, leaves her in the car, and they both run afoul of different bad things, right? So the girl, like, it happens that this meteor crashes the night that an axe murderer breaks out of a mental asylum.
But obviously there was a reason what was dropping out of the sky.
Sure. Yes, and yeah, that's right. The movie even starts
because it opens up with our aliens that are chasing down this other alien who
old baby-looking aliens.
Yeah, and oh my god, that just reminded me. I remember seeing these in this Alien book as a kid. It's like,
dude, they were looking baby, like they were straight up humanoid-sized baby aliens.
But they were cool looking though. And
I don't know that I'd call them cool looking, dude.
Okay, okay, fine, unique.
Fair
Unique.
In the alien space, because everyone else looked at that and was like, "That's not what we're."
They're giant walking
aliens
dicks.
look like. They're giant walking baby dicks. Yeah. But nonetheless, So one of them like runs off and shoots
because he's actually
something off into space.
He's actually, if you look at his eyes, they're milky compared to the other ones. He's infected by one of the slugs that's carrying the container of the slugs.
Right.
That's why he's in.
Did not pick up on that.
And then he ejects it into space. It crash lands into wherever this takes place.
Small town USA.
Yeah, 1959 Pleasantville.
So yeah, one of the guys, but so the girl is left on the side of the road and she gets attacked by the axe murderer, and then the guy that leaves the car runs afoul of these little space slugs. And then it flashes forward to the 80s. I think it's 1986.
86, yeah.
And basically, there's kids at school, and we are introduced to the main character and his disabled friend who walks around in crutches, but is trying to help him get the girl that we meet at a party early on in the movie. And
that kid was funny.
He was funny.
Like his little sidekick buddy was funny.
He reminded me of Freddy from Shazam.
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
He had the same sort of crutches and same, encouraging friend.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. Shazam was made by a horror movie director who was probably inspired by Night of the Creeps.
It's highly plausible,
that actually would make a lot of sense. Nonetheless, I think I'm right about that. Who made Shazam? Now I can't check that on the phone either.
I don't know. Someone from DC, obviously.
Yeah, well, but I can't remember the director, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, nonetheless, these guys, they are trying to impress this girl. They decide they need to rush a fraternity in order to do so. The guys in the fraternity who never actually plan on letting them in tell them that they have to go steal a dead body and put it on the steps of a rival fraternity or something like that. And when they go to do it, they go to this place that has this dude on ice, and it's the guy from the 50s that apparently they found and were smart enough to cryogenically freeze for some reason, without maybe knowing why, or maybe knowing why. Who knows?
I don't know.
That might be a cool origin story to tell, honestly.
What happened in between that
story,
time, between 59 and 86?
Because they would have had to have tried to. That's a really good prequel story. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Nonetheless, they free this guy, but chicken out on doing their dare, and in so freeing this dude from cryogenics, he frees these slugs that then scatter to the rest of the town and start infecting people left and right, and
basically turning them into zombies.
Turning them into
zombie-like
brain-fed
killers.
zombie-like killers. Yeah, that don't say much, and it sweeps through the town, and it's bad news for everyone, and it turns out to be a good time because people's heads start splitting in order to spray slugs at people, and it ended up being so much more entertaining than I thought. And then there's one burnt out detective played by Tom Atkins,
he had some fun
called into the
one-liners.
situation, had some funny one-liners. His big slogan is "Thrill Me," which apparently is a thing because everyone touched on it during the In Search of Darkness documentary, the "Thrill Me" aspect of it, which was funny. They tried to make, and they even call back to it at the end with the main character, but it's a fun movie. The story is silly, 80s horror movie camp, but it's done so well, and the practical effects are so good, which we'll get to. I mean, I just had fun with this. The story was enjoyable. What about for you?
No, most definitely, and especially for its time, it was a pretty original story, especially on the zombie genre aspect. It was we haven't really seen the alien invasion turned zombie movies, and honestly, I don't really think we've really had much in the lines of those in general. Like
I'd have to sit and think about it for a while, but nothing is springing to mind.
I know we've had some and everything. Obviously, there's Slither and things like that, but
this is basically a mixture of Slither and Night of the Living Dead.
In a sense, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, other than that, just finishing up real quick on the story. It was fun. It was enjoyable, original for the time and everything what we had. But I think really the biggest thing to talk about would be, well, once we get there, is the effects.
Yes. Let's touch on the acting real quick. Yep. For the most part, the acting was fun and good and typical 80s schlock. There were a couple hit and misses. I think Steve, the unibrow football player, was a little bit tough.
that was, yeah. But again, I feel that more so was just written of his character.
Yeah,
like, you need to basically act like a caveman.
Yeah, basically.
You got to try and ask Caterpillar.
That's true. It's not
face,
necessarily on the acting. That's true.
Yeah.
He did a good job at it.
Because again, like what I was saying earlier, like with like the Fred Decker thing, it's like it has that campy but serious.
You're right. You're right.
Characterizations.
You're keeping me in line. That's true.
Yeah, I'm getting a little tongue-tied at the same time.
No, but your point is taken. So yeah, there's no acting that really pulls you out of the movie. It's just some characters are sillier than others, but it's not meant to be a super serial horror film.
Super serial.
So yeah, to that end, I think the acting was appropriate throughout.
No, same, and really, I don't really want to expand on anything. It's, like I said, it's the effects that are the shining point of this movie.
Sure. And so let's get to it. So the effects from the practical slugs that were numerous and went different directions and bobbed up and down as they went. It wasn't just like something being pulled across surfaces.
Exactly. So what it looked like is basically a mix of like stop motion. And then
was it? Because it was really good as so.
It almost looked like it, and just again with how they had to articulate it and whatnot.
It looked
they
like
didn't have computer technology.
But they had.
Well,
they had
didn't.
little servo boxes that could have been just vibrating that they covered in slugs, and they just pulled them with fishing wire. So they're doing their little thing as they're being pulled forward.
Possibly in some scenes, but I definitely feel in some other scenes there were definitely some stop motion taken with it. Someone
watching this review knows, so let us know in the comments down below. Yeah. How did they achieve the slug chases in this movie? But the effects, I mean, the slugs were good. You even had the big slug pile towards the end, which was really cool. You had, the zombies themselves when the slugs would take over.
But the zombie dog and the zombie cat.
Yes, okay, let's touch on that.
Those two effects right there, I think, were the cream of the crop from
that whole scene. The zombie cat scene was so good because it's a sorority house, and there was a pet in the sorority house, and one of the girls is in the room, and she hears this scratching at the door, and she goes and opens the door, and she sees the top of her black cat that they had buried that was dead, and she's like, what are you doing here? And she picks it up, and it is the corpse of the cat that has maggots eating out the inside of its head and eye sockets because a slug has taken it over, and
that was some cool puppeteering.
So unexpected for me.
Yeah.
Like I was like that. Ooh, I don't like that. I like Rose, the black cat that I own, is literally just off camera, asleep peacefully, and in no way aware
no zombie cat.
that there was a zombie cat that really disturbed me. And the dog, touch on the dog.
The dog was really. I think that overshined. I think the cat a little bit.
It was like a little Pomeranian sized. I don't know what breed it was.
I can't remember what size. It was
a
a
dog.
medium small breed dog. It was enough to do some damage. But no, basically, yeah. After the corpse of someone comes back, up through the floorboards of the mother house or whatever for the dean or whatever you want to call it for the sorority.
Ex-murderer zombie.
Yeah, we'll call him that.
Mm.
Yeah. Basically, we come to a scene later, and our dog is infected. Mm-hmm. After basically standing in front of a bus and causing it to veer off. Mm-hmm. That was actually pretty cool. And then the mayhem and everything after that. But
yeah,
that I don't know. Again, like, because you had the missing eye sockets with the dog. It was just the actual practical makeup on the dog. But again, it was a mix of
the practical makeup,
the puppeteering.
The practical makeup throughout, though, because there was a ton of gunfire and shotgun blasts. Blowing not only heads completely off, but not only blowing heads completely off, but blowing parts of heads off, and that all being practical, and it looks so cool, and that is what makes this like such a movie that I think holds up, because the practical doesn't look real necessarily, but because it's practical, it feels real in the scene.
It's authentic enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's fun to see even nowadays. 86. Shit, we're 35 years past that.
Fuck yeah.
So like the fact that it is still so cool, and again, it's cool enough because movies don't do that nowadays. They rely so heavily on digital that movies like this that have so many practical effects pushing throughout the movie, I think it really raises the bar of these older movies. Mm-hmm. Same thing I felt with My Bloody Valentine. They could have cut away from a lot of stuff and it would have been a typical slasher movie, but my God, I had no idea that these movies went all in on the effects like this.
Well, that's and I've said it too in like other reviews. Like the '80s was some of the best time for horror. Mm-hmm. They didn't hold back. They literally were pushing the bar as far as they could on that R rating, so they weren't getting the X rating, so they could still hit the theaters, but also keeping that originality to bring people back into these new stories, but the brutality of it that they were trying to achieve. Like I said, like the 80s were some of the best times for this. Yeah. And then after that, once we started having more like the CGI stuff, it just fell too far away from the practical. Mm-hmm. And yeah, they definitely don't do that movie magic like they used to.
Yeah. Yeah, and the sound design and the music were also on point in the film, very 80s, but very on point. And so, I mean, all in all, really, this movie was a big success, and one that I will definitely be revisiting more in the future than I ever have, having never watched it. I didn't know what I was missing.
It's a fun, serious, but campy little time.
Having watched this, I might need to alter our best monster list with the zombie aspect maybe a little bit.
That's actually not a bad idea, because that's the funny thing too, is like even what we're talking about with like some of these monsters, like they could work out for multiple different categories.
They can also work out for best small creature movie.
Same, yeah, exactly. There's about 3 different categories as these slug zombie things could fall into.
Look forward to that in the near future, guys. The best monster series that we're going to be doing.
It's going to be a big old list.
That's going to be a big list.
I'll tell you what.
All right, so that's going to do it for our patron-requested review of Night of the Creeps. Let us know what your thoughts are on it in the comments down below. While you're down there, let us know if you enjoyed the video. Click the like button and subscribe. Ding that notification bell if you want to make sure you don't miss other episodes going forward. Thank you so much to all of our patrons for selecting this via the poll this month. We greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
Robert Duell.
And remember, stay scared.